Hello everyone, my name is Corazar, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. We have a problem, or we're going to have one soon if we don't take action also soon. What do you mean, Corazar? We just got into the Copper Age and made some really cool wooden doors, one of the concessions to non-Stone Age living. Well, you see, down here in our cellar, we have a vessel full of raw hides. And the problem is that these raw hides, while they have 26 days right now, they are benefiting from it being very cold outside. And that is greatly extending their spoil timers. As the world begins heating up, as spring draws near, this spoil timer will tick down not on a day-by-day basis, but it could go down significantly. If it ends up at around 0 degrees or 5 degrees here, this could drop to 10 or 5 or even 2 days. Most likely 10 or so. But that means we have a limited amount of time to process these hides. Now, we could turn them into pelts. Well, a few of them at least. We could do probably all of the mediums. We can do 2 medium with 1 lump of fat. But that would leave many of these small ones and this large one kind of out in the cold, so to speak. So today, we're going to get into leatherworking. Leatherworking is a way by which you can process large amounts of hides into leather. And leather, unlike pelts, is used for a lot of more advanced things than pelts can be used for. Let's take a look. We bring up leather. You will see leather is used to make all kinds of things, from different kinds of armor to bracelets and headbands, some clothing, shields, bows, small bellows, backpacks, and many other accoutrements, including a glider. Now, leatherworking is a bit of a long process. As you can see here, we need strong tannin and prepared hide, and then 4.5 days of processing. Well, how do we get a prepared hide and strong tannin? Let's go backwards. To make strong tannin, you need weak tannin and some logs in a barrel. Well, how do you make weak tannin? Oh, that's water and some logs in a barrel, specifically acacia or oak. So how do we get these prepared hides? Well, these go from scraped hides in weak tannin and 3 days in the barrel. And if we go back even farther, we need scraped hides, which requires a soaked hide being scraped by a knife. And a soaked hide is diluted borax or lime water in a barrel. And that is made with water and lime, or water and borax. Now, borax we actually cannot acquire yet. I believe this requires a bronze pickaxe to mine out. So we won't be getting borax. However, I do have a lead on where we could find some limestone or chalk. We have limestone nearby. We do have chalk too as well. I like how it's actually not showing limestone as being an option here. But you can take chalk or limestone and grind it in some kind of thing here called a quern and get lime, and then we can process it into lime water. Whew, that was a lot of walking backwards through a process. Why don't we start at the beginning now? So in order to process hides into leather, we're going to start by gathering some limestone. Now, we have a pretty decent lead on some limestone, given that there's an entire desert of it down here. And I want to go down there and we're going to pick up some of the large stones, just like we were acquiring large stones for the roof from the slate area and for the walls of our compound in the granite area. We're going to go down here and we're going to bust up as many of these limestones as we can. This will also give us another chance to expand our knowledge of the map. And while I normally wouldn't really recommend exploring in winter, 1, due to it being slow to move in winter, and 2, due to it will cause all of this to be covered in snow, or at least some of it to be covered in snow as we approach it. So it might end up covering up things that we might otherwise want to explore. But we need some limestones, so we're going to do it. Now, we could also, if we wanted to, come up here and go to our little cave here, because right around it is some green marble. And green marble can also be used to grind down into lime. However, marble is quite rare, and it is very interesting to use as a block, so we're going to not turn this into just powder and dunk it into some water. we are going to try to preserve this a little bit. Here's something I want to bring along. I'm going to bring along our first prospecting pick. I don't want to get too deep into how this works today. I'm going to use it today to prepare for a later episode, but I will show you in brief how to get started using this today. Just very briefly. But it is calm out. It is 7 in the morning, or 7:30 almost. Let's get going over to the limestone area. And we're going to just cut right across our usual route here, and that's how we'll get there. So I'm going to set off on this journey, and I'll see all of you when I arrive. Alright folks, here we are approaching and entering the limestone desert, or limestone part of the desert. And my purpose here is I want to grab basically as much of this as I can get my grubby little hands on. And that's what I'm going to do here. Now once I find some exposed stone, I will get the prospecting pick out and I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. And then we'll take it from there. Oh, and what have we here? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We have copper ore bits. Oh, this is worth coming back for. This is, as I mentioned in a previous episode, this is malachite. As you can see, it's a different look to the copper ore. This is the kind of copper ore that you will find in limestone areas. You will not find a native copper, you will find malachite. It works basically the exact same way. However, these are usually going to be much larger veins of malachite than you're going to find of regular surface copper ore. So we'll come back for that later, because we're getting pretty short on copper back home. So here we go, we have some exposed stone right here. I think this will work just fine. Okay, so, prospecting pick. The prospecting pick has two modes. We have density search and node search. The short version, which I'll get into later, is that this tells you what you might find in an area. This tells you what is actually close by to you. We're going to be using the density search mode. I'm going to start building a map of the different kinds of ores that we might find in this area. I'm going to start by taking a tap right here. I'm going to break this block fully. So there's one. Then I'm going to count over 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to break this block. And I'm going to count 4 again. So 1, 2, 3, and I think we can do 4 right here. And now we got a readout over here. I'll get into what this means in a moment. So when you're prospecting, you need to move at least 4 blocks away from each previous search. And each search requires 3 blocks broken. You're basically sort of picking at the rocks and seeing what's in the area. Now you can go more than 4, but no more than 16 blocks from any of the other locations. Otherwise it will start a fresh search and you have to start over again. Now what do these numbers mean? I will get into that later, but basically very poor just means that there is likely some there, but not a whole lot of it. And what it's going to do is it's going to search a column directly beneath this first block that you broke. It's going to say about how many blocks you'd expect to find of this particular, in this case, native copper or bismuthinite, the bismuth ore. There we go. So we have 0.16 per meal, not percent. So for every 1,000 blocks, we can expect to find 0.16 blocks of bismuth ore. And for every 1,000 blocks, we can expect to find roughly 3 native copper blocks. Now, the ores are distributed in a sort of a heat map sort of generation. So if we go over 5 blocks and try again, we're not likely to find a very different result. But if we go, say, a couple hundred blocks away, or even just a few dozen blocks away, that could dramatically change the distribution of ores that we're going to find. There's this guy here, I guess. Got that one too. Nice. Oh, there's a third one here. We are getting very lucky on resin in this playthrough. So yeah, that is the brief tutorial on how to do prospecting. Like I said, I'm not going to get into it today because we are not going to be mining today. We are here to gather up as much of this limestone as we possibly can. And what do I see here? Not 1, but 2 traders to visit. I think we are going to take advantage of this opportunity. Is it a third? No, it's a tree. And we're going to go visit both of those guys and see what they have for sale. Oh, wow. All right, buddy. Hello. Now, coming from the cold, we have a trader. Hello, you got some nice goggles there, trader. It's got an empty hand, so I'll smack you with my sword by accident. A new customer, a survival goods supplier. What's your name? Hey there, Vlad. What do you trade? Let's see, Vlad is selling halite, which is unground salt. All kinds of tin bronze spears, literally all three kinds. Some tin bronze arrows, or black bronze arrows. Very cool. A longbow and some other gear, very cool. And they are buying, rye and flax bread, leather. Oh, we could sell them some leather if we make that. And they're buying some lanterns as well. Very good to know, buddy. Well, I'm going to mark you. Good to see you. I'm also going to head over to your friend over here, who's very close by. Hello, friendo. I am here to avoid that shiver. A treasure hunter. Oh, very nice. What's your name, McCrae? Hello, what are you trading? See, he is selling rough emeralds and clothing and cracked vessels, forage, food, and tool, some paintings, and some other odds and ends. And they are buying, just like the survival goods, bread. And they're going to buy, it looks like, some of the stuff the survival goods guy sells. So the pickaxe and the falx and the bow. Now, some trade routes are profitable. Like we could purchase some of these from this guy. Although these are kind of so-so prices. And this is a bad price. But we could then turn around and sell them to a commodities merchant, usually at a markup. And you can kind of do that between these guys and the survival goods, but you have to get a bit luckier with both the sale and the buy prices. Well, buddy, I need to use your bed here and then probably leave in the morning. But I'm going to spend some time here having a bite to eat, and then I am going to look at the map while we're out here. And I think I'll just see all of you when we are back home once again, unless I find anything particularly outstanding. It is morning, and for grins and giggles, I'm going to poke my little head down this here hole. Does not seem to be a way back out. Oh my. Let's get him. Hey, buddy. Down he goes. He died. Uh-oh, here comes some trouble. Hey, buddy. Is he still coming? He's still coming. Cool. I want to just get a tap here for the most part. Don't want to go too deep here. Ooh, wow. Is there... Is there a trader down here somewhere? That is the weirdest darn thing I have ever heard. And it was very freaky. Wild. Well, I'm here for my tap. And we're gonna go. Alright, folks, we are home. A little the worse for wear. I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm going to put all of our limestone rocks away. Probably in this new crate down here. Going to shift, or I should say sprint and crouch at the same time. Now I have a mod on called Crateful that does enhance a little bit how crates can be used. Normally to put multiple stacks into a single crate, you have to do this and keep on moving them into your slot. With Crateful, it looks at what's in the crate and says, oh, you have it in your inventory, just keep clicking and I'll keep putting it in. Now, we need something to grind that limestone with. And seeing as it is still calm outside, rift-wise, I think it is time and a good opportunity for us to go and deal with that right now. So we need to make a quern. And let's talk about how to make that quern and what materials are used to make it. I'm going to go ahead and pause the game in the handbook here. Look up a quern. As you can see, they cannot be made with just any stone. there are only 4 kinds of stone that can be used to make querns: basalt, granite, andesite, and peridotite, or peridotite, as it's properly pronounced. Now, in our area, we have granite. We have granite right up in that mountain. We also have peridotite, or peridotite, right down in here. And given that we've used green sand to make our house out of green wattle and daub, I think I'd kind of like to get some of the green stone here. You know what? I think we're going to cross into here, because this will let us work a little bit without too much interruption. Now, as you have seen, when you mine out a stone like this, you get back little stone rocky bits, small stones here. If we look back at the quern, we need rock. We need these full-on blocks right here. How do we get those? Well, we have to get into what's called relieving. Relieving is where you are going to mine out all 6 sides around any given stone or stone rock block. And then once you do, that block will pop off, having been relieved by you. So what we might do here is we might say, I want to grab this block here. I'm going to mine this one here. I'm going to mine this one out back here to get access to this one. We're mining away all the stone blocks on all 6 faces of this block. Once I mine this one, pop, there it is. We have our very first peridotite rock. And there are much more efficient ways of mining out or relieving large numbers of these, but they require pickaxes with a lot more durability than ours, so I'm going to mostly focus on getting just the few pieces of rock that we actually need. Now, if you are playing with rock falls on or stone instability on, then you're going to want to be very careful about where and how you get your stone, because it will be very easy to accidentally drop a lot of stone on your own head while you're doing this. That is not turned on in this world. It is not on by default in standard survival, so we're going to not worry about that for our purposes here. There we go. We have our 4 pieces of peridotite rock. All right, let's get our way back out of here and back home. Thank goodness for the short trip. So now we have our peridotite rock. We need to make our quern, and that is done by putting 2 sticks up here like this, and then using a hammer of any sort and a chisel, also of any sort, down here in these 2 slots. Let's go pick up both of those. So we need our chisel, which is right here. We require a hammer, which is right here. And as usual, as I've mentioned before, it will use a bit of durability from both of these, but it shouldn't be too much, maybe 10 or so. We'll find out. So we have, let's see, 292 and 548. That used 10 and 20. Okay. So 20 durability from the chisel and 10 from the hammer. And this quern will temporarily live in our house with us. This will not be a permanent resident. Once we have a more Copper Age residence, then we'll move this into it. But let's go get some of that limestone, and I'll show you what we're going to do with it. So got a few stacks of this, and we're going to pop them into the quern, like so. And then we're going to hold right-click on the quern. As you can see, it is not fast. Oh, what, you thought I was going to play some rock music this time? No, this isn't exciting as panning. But I'm going to grind up probably most of these stacks here, and then I'll see you when it's done, which will probably be like mid-morning. So, wish me luck. And we're back. And I may have lied. I just did 2 of these stacks of lime, having taken a recount of our hide stash. 2 stacks will be more than enough to process all of our current hides. Now, we need a few things to start processing these hides. We're going to need a bucket, possibly more. It's going to be easier to fill a barrel if we have 5 buckets, and they do stack to 5. Let's make a few more of these buckets. There we go. And now we're going to make several barrels. Now, we're going to want to make 3 barrels for each run of leather. I tend to prefer to err on the side of at least 2 sets of barrels, and sometimes as many as 4. Now we don't have a ton of room in here, so I might maybe we'll stick some back in here. Yeah, let's do some back in here, and we'll do some on the other side as well, and that should be enough for now. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make several barrels here. Bearing in mind, these do not stack, so do not shift-click these. You'll be very sad indeed. Put these barrels down. Put some more in over here. Oh, this one's kind of in the way. I'll put these in the corner here, I guess. And then we're going to fill each of these barrels with 5 buckets of water. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They'll restack in the same slot they started in. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to do that 6 times. It is handy if you have your water source close by. But I find this to be close enough, honestly. And there we go. So now we are going to come over here, and each of these barrels holds 50 liters of water. That is the maximum amount of a liquid, although some recipes can end up putting more technically than 50 liters of contents in them. We're going to take out 14 of these and 14 of these by holding down Control and scrolling down. And we're going to put 50 liters, or 50 pieces of lime ground up in there. And we'll do that there as well as over on this side as well. Now, let's go get some of our hides. These do have plenty of time on them. I'm going to grab the small hides and the medium ones, and we're going to go put them into these separate barrels. Now, once you take them and put them in here and you seal them, that stops the clock on them rotting. So we're going to go ahead, this will turn into 8 soaked hides after 20 hours of sealing. So we'll do that, and we're going to do this guy here, these 10. Now, these 10 will only use about 20 liters of lime water. So we will have some left over, which is perfect because we have that other hide over here to do. Actually, 2 hides. So we could do a second run of those hides by themselves. Now, the second stage, as you might recall, was to put them into some weak tannin. And weak tannin is made by either taking some oak or some acacia. If you are down in the far south, you'll have acacia and probably oak as well as an option. And we need to put these into these barrels here. We're going to put 5 of them in each. There we go, and we'll seal that. These will turn into weak tannin after 24 hours of sealing. We're also going to put 5 into this one. The reason is that we need to turn this barrel into strong tannin. We're going to go lime water or borax water, depending on what age you're in, then weak tannin, and then strong tannin, and then we're done. So we're going to come over here. I'm going to put 5 oak into this one as well, and we'll seal it. And we're going to need to get some more oak. So I think in the morning, I'll go out and I'll do that. I know of a few oak trees I can knock down. And in the meantime, I think I will spend the rest of the darker hours here probably grinding up some more of the lime, just because it is a slow process. All right, I'll see all of you in about 20 hours, so we'll check back in at around midnight and see how those hides are doing. All right, folks, it is past midnight. I think it should be about time. It's also time to check for creepy crawlies in our own home here. And yes, we have 18 liters of lime water and 8 soaked medium hides. Over in this one, we should have a whole bunch of the small soaked hides. Here we go. All right. Now, as you can see, we still have plenty of lime water left over. So I'm actually going to start the next batch of these to keep things from rotting. So we have 4 fox hides and 1 large rawhide. And the fox hides should turn into small pelts later, or small soaked hides later. Now, these have just a few more minutes of sealing before they are ready. But what we can do to start here is we can either put these in our crafting grid and put a knife over them and pull them out like this. Or, if you want to, you can also place them on the ground and like so. And you can also then crouch and right-click and scrape. As you can see, it takes longer to do this. I don't know why you would opt to do this unless it was just for flavor. Just takes 6 times as long to process. Oh, and we have a light temporal storm approaching. Okay, good to know. And normally I would suggest that we put all of these into the weak tannin later, once this is ready, but I want to do something else with these scraped hides, because with some shears, we can turn this into parchment. And once we have some parchment, we can put that onto our crates here, and that way we can label what's inside and have a little image on the front. So we are going to sacrifice some efficiency for convenience. Although actually really having more backpack slots would be more convenient, but that's another problem. So I'm going to take these shears and we'll put them in our crafting grid like this, and we get some parchment. And that's one reason why I chose to keep rabbits in the Stone Age, is I wanted to be able to get some parchment without having to find an agricultural trader and buy it from them. Or there are also several mods I have used in the past to allow myself to acquire parchment by making them from cattail reeds and papyrus and so on. But the way to use these is, unfortunately, you can't just put them on an existing crate. There is a mod that does that. However, we don't have that mod on. So we need to take an empty crate, such as, say, this one here, and we need to put the crate in our inventory with the parchment, and it will become a labeled crate. We can also put it in our inventory to open it, which can be nice if you have something that you don't want to bother labeling. With a label, opening it isn't really necessary. So we're going to plop this down, say, here. And I'm going to pull out all of our bones to put them in here. And then we're going to get some limestone. We should be able to draw on here. Ah, there you go. It is sprint and right-click. Allows you to draw a picture of the item on the label. Now, this label will not update if we remove the bones and we put in, say, the sticks. Then this label will not update until we once again smack it with the limestone or other pigment. But that is a neat way to label your stuff, and I think it's kind of cool. It is beyond me how a white piece of limestone can create brown colors on a piece of parchment, but you know what? I'm just going to go with it. Now for this guy here, I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to break him and spill out all of its contents. There we go. I'm going to actually open this, and we'll place him down, say, like there. And then we should be able to, there we go, we can see kind of the limestone stones. This looks like a big old block of just limestone rock, which isn't the best, I guess, but oh well, it's something. All right, and after fiddling with that, these are ready. So we have weak tannin, and then we have 2 more over here. This one I had to start up a little bit later, so we will strengthen this guy in a bit. But what we're going to do next is we're going to take the 1 weak tannin barrel, and we're going to put in the scraped hide. And we're going to seal it. This will take 3 days to seal, so we're going to do that, and we'll come back later. This other one, we want to take 5 more pieces of oak, or if you're in the south, you can use acacia. We're going to put this in here, seal it for 1 day, and it will become strong tannin. So I'm going to go and prep for this lovely temporal storm coming up here. And then I think what we'll do is we're going to come back, and maybe it would be an opportune time to put to use some of the new things that we have and some of the new tools we've discovered in the last episode, and maybe put together a little tannery so that we can have a separate place where we can go and have all this stinky work being done rather than right here in our basement. So I will see all of you after this storm has concluded, and then we're going to get into a little bit of building. Okay, folks, we are back from yon temporal storm. I only saw a grand total of 3 drifters, and they were all pretty low tier. I only got 2 whopping flax fibers from that, so woohoo. Now it should be about time for us to come over here and plop this, yes, in here. So, as far as building things goes, I thought we should build a tannery to house all of our stinky business here. And I was thinking a tannery would probably best go somewhere out of the way, with its smell being the main reason. Let's get some light here on the subject. And so for that reason, I don't think I want to put it up in this direction. I think up in here is where I want to have sort of the village proper eventually. So we'll have sort of our ombudsman's house, and then we'll have more specific homes and workplaces for the villagers, which is to say, me. I'm leaning toward putting our tannery maybe back here near the bees, or maybe even like beyond the farm over here. Although I do like having visibility through here, because there do seem to be wild animals that pop up and come through from this direction. Behind the bees, or maybe even just beyond the bees. Yeah, right down here. A little close to some wild terrain, but I haven't noticed anything spawning back here yet. So there might not be enough forest for wolves and bears to spawn, or at least not very often. So I'm thinking, yeah, we could clear some space here. Done. And then we could build ourselves a little tannery here. And what I want to do for this is we're going to get into using some of the new materials and techniques that we have learned recently. So we're going to make this out of a lot of wood, and I'm going to use this as a chance to get into some basic chiseling techniques that you can use in your own builds to just spruce them up a little bit. This will not be a particularly advanced chiseling build. We're going to keep it to probably the 2 largest sizes of chisel, but this should get you going if you are trying to add a little bit of zing to your builds. And this is also an opportune time to explore a few new materials that we don't have access to yet, mostly because we haven't gone and collected them. But when we were on our journey to pick up a lot of granite stones a long time ago, as well as the quartz for making our windows, I did, along the way back, notice at the top of our mountain there is at least 1 tree here made of a different wood than we currently have access to. Let's go take a look at what that might be. Do a quick wildlife check. I don't see anything untoward up here yet. But we have here some larch. It is covered in moss. Larch is probably one of my favorite woods for interior work because its lumber is a nice sort of pale peachy color. So I think I would like to harvest some of these trees here. I'm going to start by taking off as many leaves as possible. Larches are not particularly generous with their seeds, so if you want to collect a lot of larch wood and you don't live in an area where they're particularly common, you want to use your shears rather judiciously in order to get lots of seeds. I would expect maybe 1 to 2 seeds per tree here. The one over here might provide us the 2 that I'm talking about. This guy might give us 0, but we'll have to see. Alright, folks, after returning and putting things away and even smithing myself a fresh set of shears, we are off to the second kind of wood we have discovered, or I noticed on the map, really. And I spotted this from afar when we were over here a long time ago. And oh my. Hey, buddy. Oh, there's two of you. 3 hits. Hey, that's my armor. Gotcha. Don't you go hurt my poor armor. It is in shreds already. Well, inventory is already full, so let's try this again later. Once more into the breach and all that. I'll get my shield prepped out here just in case it happens again. And here we go. We are arriving at the target area. At this majestic specimen. This, my friends, is a walnut tree. And this is a particularly huge walnut tree at that. They are generally pretty big, although ones that you grow can be kind of disappointing when grown from seed. And walnut trees are a little bit more generous with their seeds than the larches are, although not by a whole lot. So you will, once again, want to bring along your shears and make sure you shear them very carefully. I'm also going to see if I can shear off some of these vines here. They're a nice resource to have. And once I'm done with this, we will fell this tree, and we will talk about the wood that this and the larch provide. Alright folks, I am back in one piece from our walnut chopping spree. And actually, before we get started, let me show you just how much walnut we got from that. It was similar to the massive oak tree in terms of scale. Yeah, we got a few stacks, and there are 2 more that I have already appropriated for our task today, right up in here. So I have here several kinds of wood I want to use in our little tannery build. I'm going to grab this and put it on my back, and you'll see I am already carrying pretty much everything I think we'll need. I did go and grab a bit more granite from our little granite cave up there for some stonework. I have all of our tools here. I'm going to go and set up a little sort of workplace area so that we can have a nice sort of easy to access spot with all the things that we need. So yes, I am thinking right back in here is perfect. I'm going to put down this trunk that I just made. I like to have a trunk in my workspace just because as you are making boards and different shapes of wood, they can really clutter up your inventory very quickly. I'm going to put everything that I want to use and all the tools I think we'll need for the build in there, as well as all of the logs that I have stuffed in here. So this little build is going to be just something to get started in the Copper Age, exploring some of the new materials we have access to, as well as a little bit of chiseling. So, let's get to it. And I'm going to start by clearing out and then replacing this dirt here. So let's see, a little bit of ways away from this, maybe offset a little. There we go, let's start right here. And I want to do just a small interior, just enough to have, say, 4 concurrent sets of barrels going at once for leather making. So I'm going to do a 4-block wide build with a little bit of separation between. So I'll have 1, 2, 3, and then a space, and then 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to turn all of this into packed dirt, and from there into rammed earth. And this will be our floor, or rather our subfloor, because this is where the barrels will go. And we'll be walking 1 block above this so that we can see into the barrels very easily. I want to have a cobblestone foundation. I'm going to bring this in here a bit like this. Now, normally I'd want to have at least 2 exits to a building, but this is so small, it kind of doesn't really matter. We're going to have 1 entrance off of here. A little porch of some stairs or something. And we're going to chisel these stairs in rather than make them out of stair blocks. I'm thinking right along the sides here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 on the 4th one. I'm going to put some more cobblestone. So there and there. And then on these corners as well. And this will get raised up as we build. And for the rest of the corner supports, I want to chisel in a bit of maple logs. Then we're going to make a whole bunch of these here. I might turn 1 more set into these for now. And what we'll be doing with these is I'm going to chisel these blocks here. I'm going to go into the 8x8x8. I'm going to add in these quarter logs like this, and they should default to being vertical. I'm going to add these in, pick these, and going to right-click these into place. So now we have some quarter logs that have been sort of worked into the stone here, or maybe the stone worked around them. And we'll do that the whole way up for all of these. Well, at least the corner ones. Alright, so there is a start to that. And for the walls, I am leaning toward having oak walls, but we're going to do oak planks. And probably specifically, we're going to be doing oak slabs. Let's get a few of these going on here, and we're going to put them on this side of the block. I'm right-clicking right on the edge to place them vertically along this edge like this. Now for our floor, these 4 pockets over here along these walls are going to be for our barrels. Let's go ahead and make one set, and we will actually move the other set over here when we get a chance to. Going to put one back in here, and another one, another one. And if you have not been playing for a while, you might be wondering, hey, how am I getting those into my hands right away? Well, quite a while ago actually, they finally added the ability to middle click to select an item in your hotbar. Pretty sure I made 6 of these. There we go. Now for the floor, I'm thinking that some larch might be nice. Larch is a very pale, pinkish color. I'm going to make just a few of these because we don't have a lot of larch. So I'm going to make as few as I can. I will just go ahead and make them forced into horizontal mode. I'm going to place them in here like this. And then here, and here. And you will see that unlike the full-size planks, the slabs, when placed horizontally, always have an east-west orientation for their boards. So you want to be aware of that. If you're trying to do like a parquet floor or anything, you can either alternate these with the full-on blocks, or you can just alternate the blocks themselves. And then from here, I'm just going to bring all this up by a couple blocks. I'm thinking I'll probably go 3 blocks total. This does not need to be a tall build. And for the walls here, I'm going to leave a hole in the center. Just like that. And that's because everything we do here is going to be very stinky. And we're going to want to have some ventilation. Even though I can't smell what my Seraph smells. And then I want to bring in some pine here. Now I want to make some pine doors. So here we have some pine doors, 2 of you. And then I want to make some trap doors. And I think I'm going to want another set of 4 here. There we go. And so we're going to come in here with these doors, left and right. Some bright accent right there. That is pretty nice. And then for our windows, we're going to have trap doors in a particularly highbrow place, and it really just needs to be able to ventilate. And so therefore, I think using glass windows would be a bit too much. Also, they don't open. Now, I am using solid trapdoors so that if we are in here in the winter and we close this up and we have a roof over our heads, then we will still be able to get the benefit of being indoors even when these windows are open. And then for our roof, I am thinking we could do some walnut roof. This is a relatively recent addition to the game, although not a 1.22 exclusive, but you can make roofing pieces out of just wood now. And I like the walnut because it's got kind of a weathered look to it. I feel like the walnut and the maple are 2 of my favorite sort of outdoorsy colors to use for wood that's been exposed to the elements. The walnut is kind of darker and a little bit desaturated, where the maple kind of ends up having a bit of a mossy or mildewy green color. But as an example of how this might look when we're done, let's get a ladder and get up here on the top. Go ahead and do a few of these across here. Yeah, not too shabby. We've got some darker, earthier, sort of weathered look. We have the more sheltered oak that has not faded as much. We have the bright pine. We have a neutral cobblestone. And then we have a bit of a splash of bluish purple here in the maple. I think this combination works out really well. And I'm not going to get too deep into color theory, If you want to get into that, I have an episode in the second guide season, I believe it's number 72, that delves into color theory. But what I've done here is I've sort of picked three main color groups. We have the earthy colors, which includes both the walnut and the oak. And then I have a bright color, a color that sort of pops and stands out. And then I have its complement over here. The pine and the maple complement each other nicely, but that also makes it dangerous to put them side by side. If, for example, we had a trapdoor like right here touching this, it's a very stark contrast between the bluish purple and the bright orangey pine here that I don't like too much. It makes me just kind of, makes my skin crawl. But when you have them separated by sort of a neutral third party mediating their attendance at this building here, then they can help sort of keep the build balanced by having some warmer colors and having some cooler colors. Alright, I'm going to go and sleep and make it morning so that I can stop being so freezing and stuck in the dark here. And then I'm going to continue working on this build. And we'll take a look at it when it's all done. Aha, I lied. Well, about part of it at least. I got up this morning and realized that our hides over here have finished processing in the weak tannin. That means we can now take these out and we can pop them into here to seal for 4.5 days. So this will take a good chunk of time, but that means we will have our leather very shortly. And by the way, all of the small hides, like the foxes and the raccoons and so on, once you scrape them, they all become just small scraped hides, and that way you can stack them and put them together in one single barrel if you'd like. Now, we already have a bunch of these parchment. I'm going to probably just turn these into leather because the more leather, the better. All right, back to work. Alright, after the drift weather suddenly turned to medium on me, I decided to stay the night. Let's go ahead and pop this on there. We now have some light. And then I realized I'm missing a water source, so I'm going to put one right in here. And to do that, I'm going to take a block. I'm going to chisel the ever-living daylights out of it, because you can actually sort of waterlog a chiseled block. Provided that the block is mostly empty, you can usually plop a water source right inside a chiseled block. So we're going to chisel this. I'm going to go into the 4x4x4 mode. I'm going to dig all the way through here. And I will go down to the 2x2x2 only because this does require a bit more space in order to work. There we go. That should do. And I forgot my bucket of water. And we're back with our bucket of water, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nope, that wasn't quite right. It is pretty funny, though. Let's try that again. We may have to chisel out a little bit more of this, and that's not a big problem. I think I can just chisel out a bit more of this center bit here. Even just the whole thing. And that should let me place some water right inside here. Hey, there we go. All right. Good enough for me. So now we can fill our buckets here, or our barrels, with a bucket. And if I brought the 5 buckets, I could do them all at once. And you know, I think one of the nicest things about having this tannery, even though it's kind of far from the house, is that now our home isn't so lonely on this open plain anymore. If the game doesn't have any NPCs who will come and visit you or live and work for you, it's nice to have extra buildings to make the place feel a bit more lived in, even though no one actually lives there. Anyway, I have about 3.5 more days to wait until our leather is ready, so I'm going to just attend some chores, maybe run some clay firing in the pit kilns, and just do things around the house to keep busy. I did notice and realize I forgot to mention that I did modify our tree a bit here. I kind of spread these apart from the central pillar here, so hopefully they'll grow up a little taller and maybe a little bushier. And then we'll just fill in with some wood here to make up the difference. Anyway, I'm going to get to it, and I'll see all of you in a couple days when we have our leather. All right, folks, it has been 4.5 days. We're in the 1st of March. It's still pretty wintry outside, though. And I heard just a moment ago a certain little sound from our pig pen. I could have sworn I heard a piglet. Did you eat your piglet? Portions eaten 0. Oh, did you slip out here? We have piglets, guys! We got 4 of them. Oh, that is amazing. That is spectacular. Hi, little buddies. Oh, hello, future food. Male, male, female, male. That is somewhat unfortunate, but okay. I'm going to block off this little hole here so they can't crawl back to their parents. And we will come back in, I believe, about 5 days. These should grow up. And we'll check on their status. During this time, I have been hard at work putting together this row of crates, and this one over here. I have been over in yon forest, which you can't see in the dark from here, but over there, and there is not a whole lot left. I have been defoliating, and you can call me Agent Orange, I suppose, because I have been doing all kind of bad things to that poor forest. I even had to make a couple more pairs of shears to do it, and a couple more axes. But upon arriving home, we have our completed leather, our first run of leather. We have 16 pieces of leather, and this is the final stage in the leatherworking process. We do have, here we go, some more prepared small hides. Go ahead and dunk these guys in here and seal them up for 7 more leather later on. And I believe we have a large hide over here. Yes, 1 prepped large hide and 2 soaked medium ones. Okay, so we can sort of do a bit of musical chairs here. Not you. And that will get us some more leather in the next few days. What can we do with leather? Well, we can take a look at it here in the handbook. And as you can see, we can make all kinds of different armor with it. If we had enough, we could make some leather actual armor, just full-on armor out of leather, nothing else. But I have a particular use for it that I think you'll approve of, which is to make some leather backpacks. Now, these aren't an enormous upgrade over our current linen sacks, but it is, for quite some time, the largest backpacks we will be getting until the Steel Age. There is an upgrade to leather. If we search for sturdy leather, you'll see that there are some options for this, but it requires chromium tanned hide, which requires steel to even get started on. But these are 33% larger than the leather backpacks we'll be making today. So, to make leather backpacks, all you do is you take your leather in your crafting grid like this, and I'm going to pull them out one at a time and replace our bags a little bit here. So once we get the rest of our leather processed, we should have enough for maybe 1 or 2 more of these backpacks, and that will get us 2 more inventory slots. In a game like this, where there's so much junk to find in ruins, and cool treasures and things, and tempora gears that don't stack, the more inventory you have, the better. But folks, that's going to do it for this episode of the Vintage Story Guide. I hope you enjoyed this little adventure in how to process your leather and the long, week-long wait to actually get anything out of it. And I hope you enjoyed our little tannery build, where I'll be moving our barrels to probably between episodes. I think I'll move them over using the carry-on mod that will let me pick them up and actually move them while they are still full and even processing. And I hope you have an idea of what you can use leather for and why you're going to want it. Now, as I mentioned, I did have to make some more copper tools, and our copper stores are now getting quite low. So I think in the next episode, we're going to hop on to how to actually go prospecting. We touched on that a little bit today, but I really didn't want to focus on it and sort of dilute the lessons on leather and the tannery build. So we're going to get into full-on prospecting next episode and figure out how to acquire a lot more copper a lot faster than searching for more surface copper. The names scrolling by belong to the awesome folks who have supported the channel by signing on as channel members. If you too would like to see your name in the credits, get early access to videos, or even hear me butcher your name in the next part, then go check out what's on tap over at the channel memberships. The following folks have gone the extra mile to support the channel by signing on at the Seraph tier. Their names are Chrysanthemum, Elizabeth Woolley, Eric Franzen, Inger Raymond, Joshua Saruda, Linda Harris, Lucky's Mom, Mad Lord Hubris, Operion, Oaktree, Servus, Snow Silver, Sue Wallace, Tyluna, and Wade Parker. As always, my name has been Corazar. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.